Wildcats Weekly, presented by Armored Roofing for this third week of October. Ben Horner with you, joined as always by head coach John LaFontaine as we are putting a recap on the Wildcats' 8-5 shootout win, or a win that was an offensive shootout, I should say, for clarity's sake. An 8-5 win over the Odessa Jackalopes last Friday. An off weekend for the Wildcats this week, but doesn't mean the Cats won't be busy. We'll let you know where you can find them out in the community. But first, John, let's touch on that 8-5 win over the Jackalopes, and it was a bit of a revenge win there for a season-opening loss, that 4-3 loss back in September. But this one certainly didn't follow the same pattern. Goals galore in this one, and that's now 17 for your team in the last two games. What were your initial takeaways from that contest?
Well, it's the first game I've ever been involved in where there were no penalties. So special teams weren't a part of the game at all, which is unique. And it was a good hockey game. It was up and down hockey. I don't think there was a lot of reasons to call too many penalties anyway, but it was good hockey. They challenged us because they really stretched. They tried to sneak behind your D, and they got behind us a couple times. And but the game was unique in that we got such an early, easy 2-0 lead. The game's one was an easy face-off goal type of thing, right off a scrum, off a face-off, and then a rush that Alex buried. Falconer was a nice shot, and I think our guys, just kind of thought that it was going to be an easier night than it would be, and it didn't take long for them to get to score 3 goals like that on Austin, who hadn't let in probably 3 goals all year. So unique game. It ended up being like you said, a shootout fest. I was just happy with our response in the second period. We didn't play a good first. We weren't intense. We weren't working hard defensively. We were kind of what I call playing poke and go hockey, where you're looking to cheat a little bit and get a breakaway and not worry about your man if he gets the puck. And that cost us in the first, but the leadership got the guys together in the second and got them focused, and I thought the second period was the key.
It's interesting you mentioned that poke and go in that first period. That's kind of the same style of hockey that Odessa likes to play themselves, and thinking most notably of a guy like Kenny Hausinger, who seems to always be leaking out of the defensive zone and sneaking behind the defenseman. And he had himself a couple of breakaway opportunities in the first period of that game. Rings the crossbar with one, great recovery on the back end by, I believe, Shane Kuzmeski on another, showing off his wheels in that situation. But that's a dangerous game to get into with Odessa. This is a Cats team that saw it last year in a 9-2 shootout here. Big offensive showing, and a lot of it was because it turned into a track meet up and down the ice. Did you let your veterans kind of sort that out and get everyone back into playing the Wildcat style of hockey, or was that something that you and Coach Saransky talked about in the intermission?
No, the players, they know that wasn't our game plan. Chris put some really good film together for the guys to watch what Odessa does, and it was clear what their game plan is, what their style is, and they didn't show us anything different than what we saw on film. And it was just, I think, our guys coming out a little bit, things were just a little too easy those first 10 minutes for us. Even though we weren't playing well, we were getting some saves. Austin was making some really good saves, and we were giving up too many good chances, but getting away with it, and then getting a 2-0 lead. I just think it all kind of came together as this is going to be point night, and this is going to be an easier night. So the guys weren't happy with the first period, and they regrouped and talked about let's get back to our game plan and give them credit, because they played a very strong second and a very strong third from there on, and I thought shut down their quality chances for the most part, and then had some patience on our offensive side for us to slowly be able to get the lead.
The Wildcats outshot the Jackalopes 21-5 in that second period. They trailed 3-2 entering the contest. Cam Knight with a great rush and then went to the net to finish it off, and after a goal to make it 4-3, a couple of quick ones for the Wildcats, and everything seemed to be rolling. You start getting the bounces, and it seems like everything is tracking in the right direction until an early goal in the third period. But before we get to that, there was a move in the second period And it was not an unexpected move necessarily, but it was the timing of the move. Shaw is replaced by David Zevnik, and we'll say this, Shaw had himself maybe a bit of an off night. He's bound to happen at this level, at any level really, but Zevnik comes in after the Wildcats tied it up at 4 goals apiece. Some coaches might have done that after it was a 4-3 score line, but you wait until the Wildcats tied.
Yeah, it was no design. I'd like to tell you it was thought out, but it was one of those things where I don't think Austin was playing poorly at all. I think if the first 3 goals were backdoor type of plays, or he had a lot of traffic in front of him and a couple shots, and the one player got it a little higher in the slot and buried it, but there was traffic. They weren't his fault. We weren't playing very good in front of him. And then I think he would have wanted to have that 4th goal back, and before we even thought of possibly pulling him, we scored pretty quick after. It wasn't, and I don't even know how much time had lapsed, but it wasn't one of those where that 4th one it went in and let's think about changing him. It happened so quick that we got our 4th goal, and Chris made a good point. Said if we're going to change him, now is probably the right time. We're on a little bit of a momentum of scoring that goal, and so yeah, it probably was. It was one of those where it could have worked out, or maybe it didn't work out. But a lot of the reason behind it was David's really worked hard. He's really worked hard. He hasn't been happy with his last few outings, and he's been challenged. Chris has got him in some really good, in Austin, some really good goalie sessions where they're working on some things that they needed to work on, and they've been improving, getting better. David's really worked on those areas, and so we felt confident that he was hungry and wanted to help his teammates out, and he came in and did a great job.
He did come in and do a great job. What can that kind of performance do for his confidence going forward?
Well, I think it can do a lot because he's backed that up with having a really good week so far. Today, these 2 days of this week, where you can just see his confidence is there. He's out of his net, challenging more, and he just looks like a different goalie right now.
A couple of goaltenders pushing each other to the top of their games. Always a good thing as we continue on Wildcats Weekly, presented by Armored Roofing. He's Coach LaFontaine. I'm Ben, as always, bringing you this great edition. As we roll on here, we're recapping the Wildcats' 8-5 win over the Odessa Jackalopes, and obviously a big third period kind of made it a bit more of a comfortable scoreline than in the first couple of periods might have led on. But the Cats did control that contest for the latter 2 periods, at least if you look at the shots on goal total. 31-14 in favor of the Wildcats in the second and third period, and that's something that held true to pattern. Odessa was averaging the most shots against per game, and the Wildcats entered that contest and still hold this lead for most shots on goal per game on average. It's really been, and you've talked about this actually, not being a great shot selection team. They're passing up a lot of shots. Yeah. So averaging close to 38 shots on goal per game, in your mind, it could be more than that?
Yeah, when we came out of the Lone Star weekend, and you hit it on the head, we passed up so many shots against them, and Lone Star played really good against us, and they were really assertive on they were going to block shots, but we made it easy on them. So that focus was shooting quicker, getting a little bit more selfish around the net, and instead of looking to set up that beautiful, pretty play through traffic, getting pucks on net. And so the last 2 games, I think, have been a result of the guys wanting to think shot earlier, wanting to think shot quicker, and so I don't think we've passed up as many shots as we did previously to these last 2 games, and it shows on the scoreboard for the amount of goals that or shots and goals that are going in. So I don't think that, that Lone Star weekend we could have had 50, 60 shots if we would have shot the puck. Maybe against these other 2 teams if we would have shot a few more times, but we weren't passing up as many shots as we were before.
So you were happier with
Yes.
the quality of shots that you were taking these last couple of weeks?
Yes.
We mentioned at the outset of the show, John, that the 17 goals in the 2-game span was a franchise record for the Wildcats, surpassing 15 when the Wildcats swept Odessa, scored 9 goals one night and 6 goals the next night. The interesting note about that is that 11 different players have scored those 17 goals. Litviak and Reisinger and Boley are the couple of guys who have doubled up there. What does that say to you?
Well, we're deep up front, and we knew we were deep, and there was a little stretch there where we were relying on one line for a little bit, but you can see the other guys getting their confidence and really working hard on parts of their game, especially their puck protection, and then bringing the puck to the net. And it was only a matter of time, just like it was only a matter of time for our power play to start to have a little bit more success. Some players, like Max and like Evan, Evan's not just getting pucks on net, but he's finding guys and he's bringing the puck to the net and he's got confidence and down low, the guys are working on their puck protection. Farmer, Reisinger, and Oakley, the older guys that maybe early in the year weren't happy with their puck protection down low and giving up the puck easier than they would like. They've really worked on that, and so there's 4 lines here that at any time whoever gets hot is could be any of those lines. So it's a nice problem to have.
Seems like a good way to wrap up the talk about that Odessa game. The Wildcats come away 8-5 winners for their 2nd win in a row and their 5th win in the last 6 contests dating back to the showcase. Of course, the Wildcats are off this weekend. Their opponents, their next time out will be the Corpus Christi Ice Race on October 30th and 31st. It's a change from what you might see in your pocket schedule there. If you have a Wildcats season schedule, it has been shifted to Thursday and Friday as opposed to Friday and Saturday. Corpus traveling to Amarillo this weekend, so they have a big weekend themselves. They'll have a chance to leapfrog the Wildcats in points, although they are already holding a couple of games in hand over the Wildcats. But John, what do you expect out of Corpus Christi? They're a team that has not been leaking nearly as many goals as the last 2 opponents for the Wildcats.
No, and they're going to be a lot like the Lone Star team from a standpoint is they think defense first. They play very strong defensively. They haven't given up many shots, even when they went up to Topeka. They played well. I think they gave up more shots than they had this last game against Topeka, but that's not their game. Their game is limiting teams to 20, 25 shots. And we're getting 38, 40 shots a game, so something's got to give there. So, we've got to continue to, not take chances just for the sake of keeping the puck in and giving them some quality chances, because that's their game. They play defense. They really bottle up the net. They bottle up the mid zone. It's hard to get through, so we're going to have to put pucks behind them to get through in the mid zone, and that's a little different than what we've had to do. So it's going to be a little different game than what we've been playing.
A bit more chip and chase.
A little bit.
A little less transition rush.
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit, because we're not going to get odd mans. They're going to not be as aggressive on the offensive end, but they would rather make sure that they're back defensively and get a turnover and score that way.
All right, last question from me, John, before we check in with what the viewers have to say this week. With the weekend off, how do you go about keeping your team focused and sharp and not losing any sort of that mental sharpness on an off weekend?
Well, we'll see. We're going to try something. Right now we're focused on it. This is like another training camp this week, where we're really hitting the weight room hard. We're hitting the ice hard.
I'm sure the guys will love that.
Yeah, they're enjoying it already. So, but you have to, because we don't play till next Thursday, and you might as well take advantage of getting stronger, faster, and quicker, and working on some areas that we need to work on as far as if we were starting in training camp. When you have a little bit of lull like this in the schedule. So hopefully that'll pay off, and the guys will have some jump and be excited to play somebody other than scrimmaging against themselves.
Great. Question this week from William Thomas, and this is actually one that I meant to get in last week but missed before we started taping. Apologies, Will, but I told you we'd get it in this week, and we certainly are. And it's actually quite good timing, as the Wildcats have added a player in the last couple of weeks. William asks, what do you say to new players coming in to help them understand and buy into the team concept? They haven't been here all along. It's hard coming into a new setting like that with teammates who have been together for a couple months already.
Yeah, I think it's pretty tough on those kids because when you miss training camp, you're not there with all of the tough conditioning practices type of play, and then you're not there for learning how we want to play, and so it's hard. Jeff Baum has had to do that, obviously. As far as getting them to play as a team player, and that locker room sets the tone there. I think they step in real quick, and I think Jeff noticed that. Wow, these guys were not only welcoming to me, but I can tell that there's not selfish attitudes. It's not me. It's let's put team first, just from the veterans and the leaders in the locker room, and I think everybody in that locker room right now is preaching the same philosophy, the same focus, and so I don't think that's not quite as hard. Yeah, there's a tendency to want to come in and show these guys, hey, I'm going to show you that I was a good addition to the team, and put a little pressure. But the game of hockey is just so hard to try to do it yourself, and usually it shows pretty quickly if you're trying to do too much yourself. But the locker room and the leaders really will set the tone for what kind of environment, what kind of atmosphere is in this. Is it paying attention to details? Is it hard work, which all coaches are trying to establish, and the intensity in practice? They're going to see real quick what's demanded. The hard part is getting them adjusted to our systems and how we play.
We talked ad nauseum since about August about the quality veteran leadership group on this Wildcats team, and we continue to see it as a theme throughout the year, and should still be a strong central theme by the end of the season. Will it pay dividends? We'll have to wait, stick around, and jump on the bandwagon. You're not going to want to miss the ride. However, no stops on the ride this weekend as the Wildcats are off, so that doesn't mean you can't see them out and about around town. No, the Wildcats will be at Zombie Crawl on Saturday afternoon from 4 to 10 p.m. right here in downtown, and I've heard that maybe some of them might be sporting some zombie makeup and might get into the race as chasers. We'll have to wait and see on that one. I'm expecting to see a whole lot of pictures after the fact. Then a busy weekend continues for the Wildcats on Sunday. They will be at the Ashby's Furniture Kids Fest right there on Kell West. They'll be there from 1 to 4 p.m. Crazy Cat will be there signing autographs, taking pictures, and a little bit of street hockey as well as the guys get back to the roots and play some ball hockey. And, of course, on Sunday, Open Skate returns from 3 to 5 p.m. at the K. Yeager Coliseum, so you won't want to miss out on that. Reminder, our next home games will be Friday and Saturday, November 7th and 8th. That is Military Weekend. The Ford House Military Appreciation Night returns on Saturday, November the 8th. Reminder, the Cats will be wearing custom jerseys all weekend long, which will be raffled off after the game on Saturday. Anyone with valid military ID, including active and retired personnel, and their family members can get into that game for free. Tickets are available beginning Monday, November 3rd at the KYC box office. If you have a group reservation of 15 or more people, give us a call in the Wildcats office at 940-716-5587. So, that'll do it for us here on Wildcats Weekly, presented by Armored Roofing. Until next week, he's Coach John. Thanks for joining me. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you around the rink.